Hey guys, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, and today I thought we would talk a little bit about the science behind fire and what it can do with us. To start that discussion, we really need to go all the way back to the triangle of fire, the three-legged stool that fire needs to rapidly burn. On one side, we have oxygen. Now, in the ambient atmosphere, we have 21% oxygen. So we've got plenty of oxygen out there for fire to burn. The only thing we have to do is to not rob that fire of the oxygen around it. So how would we do that? Too big, too green, and too much. Fire likes chaos. And when I say chaos, there's a lot of neat ways out there to start your fire, from teepees to log cabins and all types of little structures that you can make. But really, just your material all laid and jumbled up on top of each other, where a lot of airflow can get into that material, will greatly aid us in establishing our fire. Another side of that triangle is our fuel. Now, you know, fuel has a triangle also. That is tinder, kindling, and our fuel wood. So we start off with tinder. And for today, we're going to talk about some man-made stuff, or stuff that you can buy. And we're going to talk about our tinder with just these little cotton balls. And the important thing to remember about tinder is we always need to process it, because it is the smallest hair-like follicles that's going to capture that heat and go from heat to an actual flame. Now, once we have a flame established, one of the problems I see is people blowing on that little small flame. But think about it. If you have embers, hot embers, coals from a fire, and you can add oxygen to that, you have fuel on top of those embers, you can create more heat by adding oxygen and create a flame. That's the way a bellows works in a forge. They pump air into hot coal and it increases the heat. But think about this. If you have a birthday candle, you make your wish, what do? You blow on it, right? To blow it out. So too much oxygen added into our small flame, we can blow it out. So you have to be careful about how much oxygen you add compared to the fuel that you have to burn. So that's our tinder. Kindling, that goes up to the next stage. This goes from the hairs up to these small pencil lead size materials. This is what we call smalls. And if you have a problem going from your tinder to your kindling and establishing that flame and having it continue to burn, your problem is usually not enough smalls. We need to have a sufficient amount of smalls to be able to generate the heat that we need to start our fuel. Now, fuel really goes from that size right on up to about the size of your thumb. That's really all we need for a small hidden fire. And most of the time, that's the biggest fire that we need when we're out. We just need something to generate a little heat, maybe to cook up a small meal, boil some water, take care of our initial needs, but something that we can cover up and put back the way it was, as if we were never there. The leave no trace principle. The difference between a small fire meeting our needs and a survival fire is the size of that fire. You can take this small concealable fire and turn it into a raging survival fire and have flames 6 feet tall, just by staggering the size of the fuel and increasing that until we have a larger fire. But the real key to starting fires is starting those small fires that are no bigger than 1 foot square with little small flames. Something that we can create a small fire base, have just enough fire to meet our needs, and roll on from there. So that is our fuel side. So we've covered oxygen, we've got plenty of it out there, don't smother it out. We've got our stages of fuel. And the next thing is talking about how to introduce that heat. What are we going to use? Now, my go-to in any situation is a big lighter. I carry one in my pocket every day. Don't make a liar out of me. Yes, I've got it right here in my pocket. And I like blue. It doesn't disappear on me. And flick your Bic, instant gratification, and you've got flame. Matches are another good source and a way of starting fires, but all matches are not created equal. So we'll cover those, and we'll talk about some different tinders that we can establish in another video. But fire does a lot for us. It can cook our food, boil our water, give us warmth, provide light, keep insects away. We can use it for singling. It's what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. Our ability to harness fire to meet our needs. And we have to be careful when we're out. If you're one of the scouts that's watching this and you're going to go out and practice your fire starting techniques, and it's important that you do that because the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. But remember, with fire comes great responsibility. So make sure that an adult knows where you're at, has already checked out the area, and that you're good to go out and start practicing your fire starting. For those of us adults that are out there, there's a couple of things we need to be careful of. We want to make sure that the area is safe. We do not want to start a raging fire like they just had out in California that burned up hundreds and hundreds of people's property and will scar and change their lives forever. We have a responsibility to make sure that we use our knowledge, our skills, and our abilities to create fire and use wisdom in that and containing our fire. Most of our fires that we need to concentrate on for the purposes of this training is going to be a small concealable fire. And we like to use a practice called leave no trace. That means we're going to move materials away from our fire area. We may even set up a little fire pit, or we will dig a hole so that we can have our small fire within that hole. And when we get ready to leave, we want to extinguish that fire with water until it is cold out. Cold out means that you add enough water in there that you get in there with a stick and stir it around. You get in there with your hands. You manipulate all of that fire bed. Make sure that it's cold out, and then return the earth back over top of that hole, and then put the litter and such back on top of it so that when we leave our training area, no one else knows that we were ever there. That's leave no trace. We want to make that area as pristine and as safe as possible for others that'll come behind us so they can have a pleasurable experience when they're out enjoying nature also. The triangle of fire is the basics, but it is critical in each part of its operation for us to have success in fire. Follow those principles and you too can have success in fire. On our next video, we'll talk a little bit about our different fire lighting techniques and some of the things that we can use to generate that heat. But until then, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. Until next time, God bless.